And then the other thing we did was, this is kind of really interesting, is we made our UI bits portable. So, and I'll get more into our UI bits and what I mean by that, but this is all the code that makes up the user interface, you know, the actual things that get rendered in the client in the browser. We made these bits to be, I should say delivered continuously. We're not quite there yet on that, but we've set ourselves up to be that way so they can be put on a CDN and they can be deployed outside of our Java application environment. So just real quick on the way things have been set up, we have this Java code base. I think I talk about it here. So we have this Java code base. It's called Sparta. I think it's on 2.4 now. You know, it's an internal name. It's based on Spring. Based, I say, because it had a lot of customization, right? I mentioned earlier they had something called Active Components, which was basically a way to do Ajax, except that you had a subclass of Java controller to do it, and it managed all the components stayed on the server side, so it knew about all the components on the client side. And so it's a pretty heavy framework to do something pretty simple you can do with, you know, just with some pub sub on the client and with some call, you know, with jQuery with Ajax or whatever, and you can replace it with, you know, a few lines of code. So, but what we did was, here I was faced with this thing, and we're moving to this new framework. They just started this. I mean, they just started actually, if the first product was really going out with this new framework. Here I come in the door, I don't like this framework, right? It's JSP based. I've done 4 JSP frameworks in my career since 1996. I don't plan on doing another one, right? I'm done. I don't like the idea that the UI bits have to be rendered on the server. I love server rendering, but I want the ability to render on the client or the server the same bits. The template should be able to be movable between the two. I don't like the idea that I have to have all of my UI engineers, let's take 150, 200 in the organization, have to know how to get in the Java environment, spin it up, subclass of Java controller just to do Ajax, or I have to talk to a Sparta engineer, an app engineer, to do that work for them. That's very crippling, fights against lean, right? There's no way you can move at a fast speed. So what do we do about this? So I remember sending an email a few months in to the whole UIE team, and I said, hey, we really ought to check this Dust stuff out, Dust.js, because LinkedIn's using it. They wrote an article leaving JSPs in the Dust. It will play on the words there. And we've got JSP, you know, and I'd already used Mustache and I knew handlebars and these other things like that. So I sent that over like a week, like a Saturday or something like that. And Eric, one of the guys I hired from Netflix, when I came on Monday, he'd already taken the Sparta app and integrated Dust as another view resolver in Spring using RhinoScript as the you know, the JavaScript engine, because RhinoScript is a JavaScript engine for Java. It's a VM, runs in the VM, and he already had that working on Monday. So proof of concept done, check the box, right? So we knew it could be done. Then we actually partnered with the mobile team on a send money flow, and tried it out in real life. At that point, we'd proved it, and then the checkout experience reinvention came along. So we decided that, well, this would first, our new president, very aggressive, said, I want it launched in 6 weeks, right? Well, I mean, usually it took a year to get a new checkout experience out. Well, we're like, well, hell, we did some stuff bigger than this at Netflix, you know, so let's see what we do. If we could use Node and we had APIs, we could probably get this out, you know, to a limited set of customers and do some testing, 6 to 8 weeks. Why not? You know, we may not have all the unhappy past, but we can test this out. So we found an internal API, started using it, you know, and then we started using Node, and we started building out this kind of new Node bootstrap kind of framework. Now the problem was, what do I do about here? Because pretty soon we found out within a couple weeks that the requirements just weren't going, the APIs we had wouldn't satisfy the new requirements we wanted. There was new functionality in the checkout experience that there were no existing services for. So we're going to have the stack over here, you know, that touched all the different PayPal services. We're going to have to use it to get this first version out. We knew we'd eventually have to. We thought we could delay that. So that's when we hit on the idea that, you know what, since we're using Dust, and it compiles down to JavaScript. So you write your template, you got your HTML, you get your little variable substitutions or whatever. Just like Mustache or Handlebar or any of these others, they compile down to JavaScript. So all of our templating really turns into JavaScript bits. And then, you know, any of the logic you do for a component or any of the logic you do for your application on the client side, that's JavaScript bits. You're using less, but that compiles down to, you know, pre-compiles down to CSS. So we've got CSS bits. You got some images. So you got images, you got CSS, you got JavaScript. That's the only three, artifacts of this whole thing. That's your UI artifacts. That's your UI bits. Well, we could, we can run this over here, right? So if we could get this in parity, so the same, we already had this kind of like a Rails-like bootstrapping where you say, this is called web core. You say web core, create an app, generate templates, generate a model, sort of things like you do with, Rails scaffolding, right? Then if we could get the same directory structure here that's over here, and have it trigger the right, stuff over here, then we could just drag and drop these UI bits from the prototyping stack to the production stack.